Hey guys, what's good? What's happening? Simple Sandman here. I know it's been a long time since I've done a YouTube video in particular. Yes, for some of y'all that may have been catching up with me elsewhere, you probably have been, familiar with me playing FGO and everything about it. But for some of you all who haven't caught up with me, yes, this is the game that I've been playing as of late. But let's get down to the point of the video right here, which is going to be able to transfer your game over to a different device and to be able to play the game on the other device without having to use a transfer code, as if there was some kind of OAuth or some kind of Google, Facebook, Twitter binding, all those kinds of shenanigans, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and get straight to it. So what I've got right in front of us is the news posting for the June 23rd game update. This was the engine update for NA in particular. And I wanted to do this video in particular because there's some videos I've seen out there that I felt like there could be a little bit more description in it, or just a little bit more visual, clues, visual cues, some helps and stuff like that. I'm a very visual learner. You probably are too. Anyway, let's go ahead and get straight to it. So this update came with a lot of new features for FGO NA, and particularly what was really nice about it was the thing about the show. So I'm going to get straight to where we're supposed to be, which is point number 21, transfer data using Google backups. So this right here is what allows us to be able to back up our data to Google, or if, and here's the second bullet right here, for iOS devices, game data can be restored without a transfer number if you have it backed up to iCloud or iTunes. So this function applies only to Android devices using 6.0 or later. Just got to, make sure your Android device or your iDevice is up to date, up to par with everything that's going on. So this update, you will be able to restore the game even if you have not issued a transfer number. That is the whole point of this thing, like I just mentioned a second ago. Now, with this being available, thanks to the engine update that this was wrapped into, we can now be able to do this really slick setup of being able to carry your account over, so that way you can have the OAuth feel, is what I call it, and the people in the development field, the software development field, we call it. But it is, once again, it has that look and feel of whenever you bind your account to something third-party related like Google or Facebook or Twitter or whatever you've got going on for you. Anyway, let's go ahead and get straight to it. Right here, right in front of me, I've got my Nox going on right here. We've got FGO. I even have a JP version, so you get to know which which folder you're going to be able to copy to and from and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get straight to it. What I've got right here is actually in my opinion, and something I recommend right here, FX is actually a really, really, really slick file explorer. It by default turns off the ability to look through root. So if I were to click through system and then try to get into root, it's going to say access denied. Now, of course, you can turn that on if you really want to do that, but thank everything, we don't need to do that here. So we're going to go back to home. Now, your home screen is going to look a little bit different. It's not going to have the bookmarks like the SD card bookmark or the storage emulated 0 apps bookmark. That's just so that way I could be able to get to those very easily. And it's just a nice recommendation if you're having to try to get to this stuff over and over again. Anywho, let's start a new window right here. So now that I've got my visual cues right here to know the two places where you need to go, I'm going to explain what they are. So the first one we've got is the SD card /Android/data. What that is the internal shared storage on your device that you are personally allowed to get into without being rooted, without jailbreaking if you're in the iPhone, iPad, the Apple world, and everything about it. So we're going to click on system. This is the root folder, root directory, the root of the entire directory. You're at the bottom of the tree and you're about to branch out. So from here, where you want to go, like it says over here on the left, you want to go to Android. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. But in order to get to Android, more times than not, you don't even have to go to SD card first. In the emulator, you will need to, but if you're trying to get something off of your, say, your Android device, which this is the device right here I'm going to be transferring to, it's an OnePlus 6. In order to get to that, we need to get to the SD card. Like I said, we're going to the internal shared storage. So right over here, we've got where plenty of the other file explorers take you first. Take you straight to here. So from here, you go to Android, and then you go to data. Now, from here, you're going to see a couple things. You're going to see the com aniplex fate grand order.en, and then you'll see the one without the .en at the end of it. This is, of course, the JP version. If you need to transfer the JP over to your other device, by all means. But we are here for the NA version. So, to show you the other side of the setup, going to storage emulated 0 apps is the place where, for the emulating side of the world, this is what allows you to share files to and from your PC and your emulator. So, once again, we go to System. We then scroll down, and instead of SD card, where your phone would be, we want to go to Storage. Then, from there, we go to Emulated 0, and then here is where you can share your, setup with, share various files, setups, whatever you got going on, right? So you can see all this if you go to File Assist and you go to Open PC folder. You're going to see the similar folders. Not every folder will be in here, but you'll see very similar folders. Now, I do have a separate window all set up and everything about it, but let's go ahead and close this out, close that out, and then we'll get to it. So from 0, we're going to go to apps. Now, this is where you are going to paste. If you are going from your emulator to your device, you need to export it, essentially. You just do the exact opposite or the exact reverse if you are wanting to import to your emulator. It's, it's a two-way street. You can go back and forth with it. It's great. It's wonderful. So let's continue with it. So now that we've already gotten everything situated and we're already here, I might as well tear down these bookmark tabs because I wanted to make sure it is as close as what you're going to see on your screen as possible. So now we've gotten to where we need to be on both sides. So we'll go ahead and hit SD card, right? What you want to do is you want to copy this entire folder, right? And this is a long press, so you hold when you press down or hold and click until you get these options up here. So you have cut, paste, delete, all that good stuff. All you're going to do, you're going to click copy, right? Now it says one copied. It's in your clipboard now. Go back to here. So this is why we have two windows open, is so that way you don't have to retraverse, to get to wherever you need to be. So that's a really nice option. So you click on the clipboard, and here's our clipboard. It shows what we just copied, or we're about to copy. So we want to hit paste. And what's so nice about this app, it shows you the files that are being transferred, but it's being transferred so quickly, we're just seeing the number count. We're seeing how many megs are in here. Now you're starting to see, Sandman, why is it only 700 and so odd amount of megabytes and not the 4.2 gigs that you would get with the full download? Well, I've been doing my personal testing with the full download going back and forth versus just the bare minimum needed to play the game. And the thing that I've started to run into is that instead of dealing with the 600, 800 files that you're going to be putting up with in the base game, the essentials after you transfer, the full game is over 8,000 files as of this moment. So the problem is that when you're trying to copy 4.2 gigs over 8,000 files, it takes exponentially longer. Let me show you what I mean. This was an attempt to actually get something going in terms of the full transfer. But right over here, this is going to my OnePlus, right? And we were about just a little over halfway through it, and it still says a day remaining. Now, I know Windows Explorer tries its damnedest to estimate, and it told me originally an hour. Then it told me 4 hours. Then it told me 8 hours, so on and so forth, right? Maybe it was just going over a big hurdle. It could only estimate so much in terms of copying to and from with the full set of data. This is just a problem with what Windows has when it comes to copying to and from. For me in particular, the OnePlus here is only a USB 2 instead of a USB 3. Now, my SSD is an NVMe, so it's definitely not a bottleneck on the computer side. It is definitely a bottleneck on my phone. But if you're in my struggle boat where you're only in USB 2 still with your phone, which this was one of the last OnePluses in USB 2, well, you're better off just going with the base game, just whatever you've done in your game without the full download, and then just copy it over. Worst case scenario, you could do a quick transfer over and just send it back the other direction with just the base game after you transferred it once over. That way you can also test and make sure your transfer code, if you haven't used it in a while, still works. It's always nice to have that, just to make sure it works is still good. The TLDR, like we mentioned before, is to transfer to here. Now, let me go ahead and pull up what you will see when you hit the file assist and go to open PC folder. This will be in the AppShare. So that's where you would go. And so I got it right here. I might as well just stay to this window. So this is the game that we just copied over. Next, here we go. This is the next part that we got to really get over. This is our next hurdle. This is for Android. I don't have an iPhone to be able to give you the Apple side of all of this. Sorry, I apologize greatly. I don't have an iDevice on me. But this is what would look like, assuming you already have the USB debugging on, you turn on developer mode, and you've got it set to file transfer. I'll show you all what that means in a second. So this is what you'll want to see. You want to see your device here, and you click on it, and you actually see your internal shared storage, which is your SD card. There is no actual SD card in this thing, but that's just how Android likes to keep its terminology together. Just it's similar in that route. They both function the same. So you would go to here, you go to Android, and then you go to data, just like you did on the other side. Now, of course, I've got FGO, it's Aniplex. There it is right there. Now, let me show you how it actually breaks down in terms of getting to here. This is assuming you have already done it. But if you haven't done it, by all means, don't worry. I've got screenshots. Now, this will affect every device is going to be a little different. So I'm going to show you right here what it will look like. So one of the first things you got to do if you don't have developer mode on is you got to turn it on. Now, what I've got sitting right here in front of me is my About Phone section. Of course, you can always use the search bar to try to find this kind of stuff. If you're ever lost in any of the settings, oh goodness, you're going to find out in developer mode, there is a bunch of options. I mean, there is far too many options for you to just simply just look through. It may be even overwhelming to you. I get it. The struggle's real. So let's go ahead and show where you're supposed to click. All right, so you got build number right here, right? So let me zoom in for you just so you can get a chance to look at it. So build number right down here. That's where you're supposed to tap on the screen. You keep tapping on the screen until you start seeing this toast. That is the official terminology in Android development. This is what they call a toast, a notification on your screen. It's going to say you are now 4 steps away from being a developer. And each time you tap on it, it's going to say 3 steps, 2 step, 1 step, and then bam, you are now a developer. That's what it'll show at the end of it. You may have to do a little bit of Googling for your own model, just so you know what screen you need to be on. But this is the fundamental process using my phone to unlock developer mode, to get the USB debugging, and to make sure your computer can recognize it. All right, now you went back, you went to your settings, and you've got a fat developer option now you can go to. Click on that, and then you've got this whole laundry full of menus, full of options that you get to use. Now, of course, you can always search. Like I said before, Googling is your best friend. It's always your best friend. Work on your Google foo. Anyway, no. Anyway, so let's continue here. So, USB debugging is what you need to make sure, the first step anyway, to allow your computer to be able to see your device, your Android device in particular. So when you turn that on, it's going to say stuff like, oh, hey, this is intended for so-and-so. You click yes, right? Now, whenever you get onto your computer and you actually plug your phone into the computer, it's then going to ask you, do you trust this computer? It's going to show, I think it's like a MAC address or something like that. It's been a hot minute since I've actually stared at it in full, but it will show you a unique identifier for your computer. And that's why I don't have a screenshot of it. But you click yes to that. You could actually do a check mark where it says always allow, so that way you don't have to keep dealing with it. But if you ever run into an issue where your phone isn't able to be connected after you do that, or you were doing this a few days later, kind of like my problem, actually, I was just running into the issue of not being able to reconnect to be able to see the file explorer, you know, to be able to see all this stuff, right? What you could do is you can always click Revoke USB Debugging Authorizations. This just makes it to where you reset yourself, you know, go from scratch, try again, right? It's not a bad thing, especially in IT, if you have to go back from scratch, assuming it's not a lot of settings that you've lost. In this case, it was 2 button presses. I'm pretty sure you'll get over that. If you can't, you know, type F in the chat. Anyways, sorry, I'm not on Twitch, which, by the way, you can catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/simple_Sandman. Anywho, after you click the revoke, you could try again and then, you know, re-authenticate with your computer to be able to let the computer see what's in your phone. So the next step over here is the default USB configuration. So it is this menu right over here. This will allow you to set the behavior. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Set the behavior of what your phone's going to do with the computer once it's connected via USB. And in this case, all we really need is file transfer. This makes it to where it acts like, you know, a thumb drive, you know, some kind of USB, you know, just a little thumb drive. I call it thumb drive, USB drives, whatever the hell you all want to call it. It acts as one of those. It's a really fancy one. It's got a screen on it, guys. I think that's pretty cool. Am I right? No, real talk here. That is what you need. There are other ways of getting to the menus and stuff like that. Like I said, once again, please, 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 if you ever get lost, just start searching, start Googling and everything about it. I get it. This is my device, not yours. So every device is going to be a little different as far as getting to these settings, but this is the fundamental way of making all this happen. So now you go to USB debug is what you would search, right? Or something USB debugging, or, you know, something close to that. And get you these 2 options. These are the 2 options that I was just talking about, right? USB debugging and then the revoke USB debugging authorizations. So the other one is USB preferences. Now USB preferences takes us back to this screen right here. Now, of course, this is a slightly different look of a screen, but it does the same dang thing. You know, it gives you the file transfer, it gives you USB tethering, MIDI, PTP, or just nothing. You just want to use it, you know, use the computer as a very expensive USB charging port. So, there you go. Now, let's go ahead and close all that out. And what you can do from here, all you got to do, let me go ahead and clean up my window so you can see everything that I see. All right, we're back to the share. That is the centralized location and the gateway to and from Nox in this regard. BlueStacks has a similar setup, but you definitely want to go look in some documentation because I once again apologize. I don't have BlueStacks installed on this computer at this time, or else I'd go in further into that. Anywho, all you got to do is just click this, copy, and then you just paste it right over here. You click paste, and then boom. You may have to do, you know, when it tells you, hey, you got to merge files, just click the checkmark button, just merge all. You're deliberately trying to overwrite the files that are on your device that you're trying to hook up your account to without having to use data transfer. It doesn't take too long since thankfully it's only hundreds of files, not thousands of files. So that's really nice. Anyway, I think that's about all I've got for you today. I'll answer a quick tidbits as far as FAQs go. One of the big things that I had someone address to me in particular is how is everything being saved? So you do have to recall, if you ever done data transfers before, you know your servants are backed up elsewhere, right? They're backed up in a server, some kind of cloud storage of, you know, DW, and that's where they hold your account up and everything about it, right? When you roll for servants, that's all gets saved up there. When you level servants, that's all saved up there. Every craft essences, all that stuff. The things that are saved more onto your client side, or your device in this case, server client, that's the relationship we got here. The client side being your device would be more like your game options in the game settings. Your volume, your applying ascension settings, so on and so forth. Those little filters right there, right? Something that's only specific to your device, and that's it. Now, do be warned that whenever you create and then make the actual transfer to data, it will always delete the full download data. So you definitely, and it depends on your situation. If you're with, like me, for example, and having to put up with USB 2.0, it's better to just get the base game, let the data transfer reset, clear the full download of the game, and then transfer it over, right? Or if you're in a much better case in USB 3, download the full game prior, and then it's one step less you got to put up with. Now, you don't have to worry about binding. You don't have to worry about data transfer, although you definitely need to keep your transfer code because, and it should say, let me go back over here. There we go. If you have generated a transfer number in addition to a game data backup on iCloud, iTunes, or a Google account, the transfer number will take precedence. That means if you are needing the game, transferred one way or another, that is going to take a higher priority. Your transfer code that you're used to going back and forth, or at least saving off to the side, that thing is going to take priority. Once your restore data, or I'll just read the rest of it just so you can read this. I apologize. I'm in dark mode instead of the blinding light mode. I'm using Dark Reader here. I will link this in the description to the GitHub in particular, so that way this is the very app you need to go to, not, some knockoff. There's a bunch of knockoffs, and actually some malicious knockoffs as well. So definitely check for a GitHub link in particular, so that way you can see how active the community is if you're not a coder. But if you're a coder like me, you can start, spinning through it and, have fun with that too, right? Great community on there. Takes care of websites a lot. So yeah, I'm just making sure your eyes are not blinded and you just can't see anything, right? Anywho, so once you restore data using the transfer number, the previous game data can no longer be restored. You'll need to create a new game data backup for the new device. So every time you transfer, you need to make sure that that folder, though on the destination, right, on the destination device, is the device that's getting backed up into the cloud and getting pushed onto your second device. So you got to make sure the one that's currently holding the game, that's the one that you're copying. That's the only other thing you got to really worry about, which honestly is not that much of a worry for most people. But, sometimes you juggle, a few too many pieces and too many balls in the air, and you forget, apologies, which one is which. So fully understand that. Well, I do thank you all for this extensive video that I have gone over and everything about it. Apologies for any possible rambling and everything about it, but hopefully this answers a lot of questions. Appreciate you all coming out. Appreciate you all checking all this stuff out. I hope you all have a great day. I'm going to try to get a little bit more video content out there from this point forward. Probably more IT-oriented gaming stuff, right? So it's kind of my stick, right? Anyway, hopefully y'all have a good day. You could definitely catch me live on twitch.tv/simple_Sandman. All the stuff that I've talked about here will be in the description below and everything about it. I hope y'all have a great day or night, and I will catch you all on the next one. Deuces.